Alright guys, back to tinkering around with my Mosin. Just fixing to finish up, gonna strip down the metal and start dur coating it in the color that I want it. I'm gonna do the camo job on it. But it dawned on me that if I was gonna do my trigger job, what's better time to do it before I finish the rifle? And this is the Mosin Nagant. I got it stripped down apart. You can see, I'll try to do this without dropping the trigger pin. You cock it, and if you'll see just how much slop there is in this trigger, and it's got like a very, 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 very long, heavy trigger with a lot of slop. Well, I was checking where a lot of us get our information is from YouTube, and I was looking at some different things because I was mulling it over. I'm thinking I might either put a Huber Concepts trigger or a Timney trigger, but in the meantime I wanted to just to see, because you know me, I like a challenge and I always like tinkering with guns, to see if I could improve this a little bit on my own. I think I've come up with a way of what I'm going to do it, and we're going to try it out after I finish the rifle. But I'll show you once again, if I can zoom the camera in. For y'all. I cycle the bolt. You can see just how heavy and stiff this trigger is. It takes a lot of force, has a lot of creep, then it goes off. Hold on, I'll get back to you. I gotta get rid of a little 3-foot midget ninja. Alright guys, sorry for the little interruption, but like I said, you cycle a bolt. We've got a pretty heavy, stiff trigger pull with a lot of slop. And I did some investigating and looking on the internet and looking on YouTube and seeing what other people come up with, and I seen where they put the little pop tops and washers and everything else on there. So I was looking for some washers, and apparently all of them's over at the shop. I'm out here in the man cave. But I come up with the idea of using one of these. It's very, very, very thin, very easily cut and shaped. So I cut one of these off, and it looked like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to space this under the trigger mechanism right here. Just going to take this screw out. And if you notice, it still has the squared off side where I'm going to shape it to fit the hole, because we're still in the experimental stage here. And we'll place that under here. And what we're doing is we're going to shim this little piece out here so it doesn't cause as much force to pull this trigger back. So we'll put that into place. Now I do want to caution you on this. If you space this out too much, you're going to come into two problems. One, you're going to try and cycle the bolt and it'll never cock, because the trigger will never catch inside your bolt to cock back your firing pin and keep it in place. The other scenario you'll come into is if you shim this up too much, you're going to get into a issue where the gun could actually fire without you pulling the trigger. That's not something you want. Believe me, it's not something you want to do. And you do this at your own risk. I don't take any responsibility for anybody doing this to their gun. I'm a tinkerer, and I like to tinker. Not a gunsmith by no means. But all I'm wanting to do is lighten up this trigger pull. So I've got that in now. So now we're going to try it. We'll cock it. Cycle our bolt. And see, our bolt doesn't come out. If you get it in this shimmed up too much, you can go to pull back your bolt to come all the way out. And you don't want that. So we'll cock it back. And now, if I can get this in camera, we have a pretty light trigger pull. I was watching another fellow's video. Well, he kind of did something similar. I can't remember if it was with the soda can top or with the washer that he mic'd out, cut down. But he actually come up with he put a 2-stage trigger on his. Or he created a 2-stage trigger, and he had took it off of like those little potato chip clip things that you just put on it's got the little spring inside with the 2 clips. And I was looking around the house. We don't have any potato chip clips, but I'm always stepping on these little hair things. I don't know what they're called. The girls put them in their hair. They got a little thing they just pinch together, put it on their hair, and then release it, and it kind of holds them like a banana clip or something. So I took the spring out of one of them. It looks similar to this, but the problem I run into, I'll show you. I'll get something I can pop this out with readily, easily. Is if you'll notice, the spring is smaller than the pin that it needs to go through. So I sat there and thought to myself, I said, this ain't gonna work. I thought about going to the hardware store and buying a spring. And kind of a pretty day, I just want to ease around. And so basically what I did is I sat down with 2 pair of pliers, like so. And I took this spring and I sat here and bent it. Bent it around and bent it around, bent it around, bent it until I got it to the size I wanted. And I just took a pair of side cutters, dikes, whatever you want to call them, and snipped the ends off. I got them just the way I wanted it. And what I come up with is a spring like so. I made a little hook to go behind the trigger, and I had a really long section of the spring that come out like so, come out about this far. So I lopped it off so it would just catch the inside of the receiver. And then, as you can see, my pin will fit through it. So now we've got our trigger in place. All I have to do is slide the spring that I made inside the little groove to the trigger, if you can see this, and replace the pin. And all that is it's going to do like a 2-stage trigger and give you more of a pullback on your trigger, so it's not got all that slop in it. And I will tell you that you're going to be pulling your hair out, and hold on 1 second, let me knock this in. Alright, now if you can see that, I'll try and show you on the camera. I made that spring in there like so, and I cut it short enough to where it wouldn't be in the tang screw area. Now I'll show you this. We have our screw shimmed up underneath this little place right here, and I will have to sand that off so it'll be flush, but I'm leaving it alone for the video so you can actually see it. Now if you'll see, we don't have any slop in our trigger. It's nice and tight. And another thing that's going to help out with is this pin. A lot of people lose this pin through taking it apart. As you can see, that pin ain't coming out now because it's got something to hold resistance. And my theory behind this is it's going to give me a really crisper, lighter trigger pull. As you can see, when we cock it, I have very little, if I can get this in camera, very easy, light trigger with no slop. I think that's going to help a lot with the accuracy of this rifle. And if I like it, I'll keep it. If I don't like it, then I'll opt for the Timney trigger or the Huber trigger. But I just wanted to show you. And see, it takes up a lot of that wiggle, because before this would just flop back and forth. But now I've got a pretty light, crisp trigger, and it didn't cost me nothing. So there we go with that. I'll show you that one more time. The little spring I made goes up against the back of the trigger, and all it does is it holds the trigger flush. And that shim takes off just enough to make the trigger pull just a little crisper. And plus our bolt doesn't come all the way out. And I know this is kind of awkward because the action is upside down, but if you can see, let me zoom out just a little bit. If you can see just how light, if anybody knows how tight a Mosin trigger is and how much creep, you see, you can pull up your slack. It's kind of like a pistol, you know, if you're going to stage your trigger, you can just pull it back, and it just made it lighter. We're going to sample with that and see. Again, I'll show you. I think that's going to work out pretty good. Like I said, I caution anybody that does this, you do so at your own risk. I'm not a gunsmith, and I'm just like to tinker with my own firearms, and every once in a while I might do a little something for a buddy of mine. But try that if you got a Mosin and you got time and a few basic hand tools and you don't mind tinkering. Try that. See if that won't increase your trigger for you. I know some of those Timney trigger, I think it is, and the Huber, and them things are like almost $100. This was free, didn't cost me nothing. And we're gonna try it out and see if it works. Anyways, I'll get out of here. Y'all tell me what you think about that little two-stage trigger job we did on the Mosin. Alright, I'm out of here.